Hi everyone, and welcome to our webinar. My name is Jordan, and today we are joined by CEO and founder of Egg Helpers, Leah Swanberg. Leah is going to be providing information on becoming a donor today. Before we get started, and while we wait for a few more attendees to join us, I'm just going to go over a few housekeeping items. So first, we know everyone is at home right now, so in case of any connection issues, please call in using a phone and using the phone number provided in your registration email. Second, we are recording this webinar today, so everyone who is registered will receive a copy of the video to rewatch later. And last but not least, if you have any questions for Leah, please write them in the questions tool, and she will be answering everyone at the end. Thank you to everyone who has already sent in their questions. Leah is going to be addressing these throughout the webinar today. So we have everyone who has joined us today, so let's get started. Leah, I'll pass it on to you.
Great, thank you. Hi everyone, as Jordan said, my name is Leah Swanberg and I'm the founder of Egg Helpers. I have myself been a donor 6 times in known as well as anonymous donations, and those donations really hold a special place for me and really allowed me the opportunity to build Egg Helpers in a way that made sense for women who were participating in egg donation, and to ensure that that they were taken care of and that their decisions and values were respected, whether it was that they were interested in a known donation or an anonymous donation. So I'm really looking forward to sharing some information with you today, and please at any time feel free to ask a question and I'll be addressing them at the end. I do have a list of questions that many of you sent in ahead of time, so we'll be addressing those as well. So oftentimes I'm asked by people who is an egg donor, who qualifies to be an egg donor, who makes an ideal candidate for an egg donor. So our program is open to women who are between the ages of 19 and 32 years of age and who have healthy genetic backgrounds. So what that means is you have parents who are relatively healthy and grandparents who were relatively healthy and didn't carry any genetic conditions. So while nearly everyone has someone in their family who has had cancer or a heart attack or heart disease, there are some types of cancers that are genetic and some that are a result of lifestyle or exposure to things and environmental things. And so, as long as you have a relatively healthy family history, you would qualify for egg donation. And so when we look at the process, and many people say, well, I haven't had kids yet, I don't know if I can have kids. And so I will tell you, egg donation is a great way to learn about your genetic history, as there will be some genetic screening that's done at the clinic, and it's a great way for you to really test your fertility at no cost to you and through the fertility clinic. And so when you contact us at Egg Helpers, one of our intake team, their names are Amber and Skylar, they will reach out to you by email, they will reach out to you by phone or text, and they will set up a time to go over the process with you, to walk you through the steps and stages of an egg donation. They'll talk to you about your profile and what is important to highlight. We want to know who you are, not only so that we can pass that information on to potential intended parents, but so that we know how to best support you through this process. Egg donation is amazing, but it is a very serious commitment. And so we want to make sure that from the moment you reach out to us, you are provided with accurate information, whether it be around the medical process and procedure, or accurate information on how this may affect your future fertility, what the risks are associated with egg donation, as well. What is the time commitment? How many appointments do you need to attend? Will you need to travel? All of those pieces are so important. We want to ensure that you understand prior to committing yourself to the process. So you'll have this initial call and you will gain some information. then you'll likely have another call where you'll fill out your application. And on that form, we're going to ask you questions about your family's health history. We're going to ask you about your personality, your likes, your dislikes. We're going to find out from you who you are, so that when an intended parent or intended parents read your profile, view your photos that you share with us, they will really know who you are, and they will know if you are a fit for them, whether it's to be a known donor. So for many women coming into our program, they aren't sure, would I like to be a known donor? Would I like to be an anonymous donor? And so Skylar and Amber will walk you through what that looks like. And so sometimes an anonymous donor is, I would like to be anonymous. However, when the child reaches the age of consent, I would I would be open to meeting that child if they were interested. Or anonymous, I would like to remain anonymous, and I would not like to have the ability to connect with the people or the child at the age of majority. There's also semi-known. So I would be willing to have updates from the intended parents, and I would provide updates on any children that I have in the future, any other donations that I do, but I'm not sure what else that would look like. And then known, which would simply be you meeting them potentially being there at your embryo transfer, you developing a relationship with these people or person that will go the distance, and you'll really be connected with them throughout the next part of their lives and their child's life. And so that's something really important to think about is, what fits for you as a donor, so that we can find intended parents that have that shared value. We can find intended parents who will, want that same type of donation. It's really important, obviously, that is, that is a fit. So you'll fill out the application form. Your information will be sent to a fertility clinic that we work with to review it and to look at your family's health history as well as your health history. And at that point, the doctor will come back to us and say, absolutely, we'd love to move forward with this donor and have her come in to do a full in-person screening. Or, there are some medical issues that unfortunately prohibit this person from being an egg donor. And so at that point, we would let you know that unfortunately you aren't able to proceed. I will tell you, though, that 9 out of 10 women that apply to our program are able to go on to the medical screening piece. And so, the chances are there. And so we ask anyone that is interested to please fill out the application form, and we will submit it along with the information that you've provided us on other aspects and details of your life. The next piece would be to attend a fertility clinic or a local monitoring lab. And at that appointment, you will have blood work done to check for infectious diseases, to check what your hormone levels are, and to be able to really see the potential number of eggs that would be able to be harvested in a cycle. And it's really important that these tests are done to ensure that you, again, are able to participate. So we move forward with that piece. And then from then, we wait for intended parents to select you as an egg donor. And so what that looks like often is intended parents will reach out to us and they'll say, I'm looking for a donor who looks just like me, or I'm looking for a donor that looks just like my partner, or just like this picture of my cousin. And so many times donors ask us, why does it take so long to be picked? And the answer is simple. You may have a very unique look, and so we have to find that person that shares that same unique look. And many people, whether they decide to have a known donor or anonymous donor, they really are looking for similar features or some similarities. And so that may mean you're selected as an egg donor immediately upon completion of those initial tests at the fertility clinic or monitoring center, or it may mean that there is a 1, 2, 3 months delay, even longer. Unfortunately, we don't know what that wait time will be like, but we suggest always to donors that they reach back out to Amber or Skylar or whoever you've sort of connected with at Egg Helpers to ensure that your information is updated and that we know that you are ready to proceed as a donor as soon as someone selects your profile. And as well, if once you've applied, if anything's changed in your medical history, or you've decided that you're willing to be a known donor, or you'd like to change your status to an anonymous donor, we will update your profile at any time. So important that you know that whatever you tell us you are looking for in recipients or intended parents, we will look for that and honor that. And so sometimes there is somewhat of a delay with that. So once you've been screened at the clinic and you begin the process, you'll be put in touch with a nurse at the fertility clinic your intended parents are working with. And sometimes that clinic could be in Toronto, in Vancouver, in California. It really just depends, and you'll have that information prior to us asking you to commit to a specific set of intended parents. We will advise you of the fertility clinic they're working with, the number of days you would be required to travel there if travel's required, and of course all of those costs would be covered for you by the intended parents. So once you have a nurse who's taking care of you, she'll go over with you all of the medications that you will be taking. You will be taking injections. You'll have a teaching appointment with the nurse, so you'll know exactly how to, how to take the medication, what dosages of medications you're taking, as well as you'll have the opportunity to speak with the nurse or physician about the risks associated with medications, what to watch for should you have an adverse reaction. It's really important that throughout the entire process, you have people on your side advocating for you to ensure that this egg donation is something that adds to your life rather than takes away and and requires more than you're able to give throughout the process. And so generally the entire process is 14 days of taking the medication, checking in with the clinic, having ultrasounds to look at your ovaries and how they're responding to the medication, as well as the retrieval process, and a day or so of recovery after. Now, each one of my donations was very different. You could ask 10 egg donors how they responded to the medication and how they felt during the process, and you will get 10 answers. Every woman I speak to who's donated either for her own personal IVF or to donate to another couple has had a very different experience. And so when you speak to our intake team, ask them, hey, I'm curious about this around the medication or the process, or I'd like to speak to a nurse to ask these questions. Every question is important to us, and we want to make sure that during that 14-day period of medication, check-in appointments, having a look at your ovaries, that you really feel supported, that you understand what's going on, that you know what is to come with the retrieval process. So you've taken these medications, you've been checking in with the clinic, having these ultrasounds and blood draws done. Now's the day of the retrieval. So on the day of the retrieval, you'll bring someone with you. If you don't have someone, Egg Helpers will provide someone to be there with you. The retrieval is done under a twilight sedation. So similar to an anesthesia that you may have had at the dentist, where you are awake, so you're not under a general anesthetic, but you're very groggy and you likely will not remember anything of the process other than waking up, having a tender abdomen, and feeling very tired. I know for myself, and I've attended, my daughters have been, two of my daughters have been egg donors, and when I attended one of the retrievals with Christina, she really felt absolutely fine. I remember for myself, I absolutely did not feel fine. So you have someone with you there to get you back to the hotel or get you back home if you live nearby the clinic. But having that person there with you is mandatory, and that is because you will be unable to drive or or get yourself back to home or the hotel. So the retrieval will happen. The nurse will say, you can ask her how many eggs were retrieved. She'll let you know that information. She'll likely ask you to come back the next day for a follow-up appointment. That follow-up appointment is very important. It's important to know that your body is responding well to the retrieval process, that your ovaries are beginning to shrink back to their normal size, and that there is no fluid collecting, which is a complication that can occur during egg donation. I will say in the last couple of years, we have seen complications go from, or in the last 5 years, complications going from, 5% of egg retrievals having some type of, mild ovarian hyperstimulation syndrome. And, going from that to going to, less than 1%, far lower than 1%. Doctors have really perfected the process to ensure that women are kept safe throughout the entire stimulation process and retrieval. We have found that, years ago it was how many eggs can we get from a donor? And that's really shifted. And I'm so glad that it has, because now it is how many good quality eggs can we get from a retrieval that will keep the donor safe, that will allow for a good number of embryos, and will ensure that post-retrieval, the donor doesn't have complications. And when you think about, in the average month, we ovulate 1 to 2 eggs. And with an egg donation, generally, they will retrieve 20 eggs. So that's still a large number of eggs. And so knowing that your body will, sort of be on these hormones and going through this process and going through a retrieval, it is a big deal. And I never want donors to believe anything other than that. This is a huge commitment. It is the most amazing thing that you can do for someone else. You are providing someone the opportunity to have a family. And there is nothing greater. There is no greater gift that you can give to this world and to these people. But it is a serious process and a medical procedure for sure. So I'm going to go over some of the questions. And the first question is, where are fertility clinics located? So we work with clinics in Toronto, Ontario. We work with clinics in Vancouver, British Columbia, in Victoria, British Columbia, in various spots in California. And so it really just depends upon where the intended parents that have selected you are working. And so what we would do is we would contact you and say, great news, intended parents selected you. This is the clinic that they're working at. And here would be the travel requirements or the requirements to move forward. And at that point, you would decide if that is a fit for you, or even a possibility based on your school schedule, work schedule, whatever that looks like for you. I answered this question, but I want to sort of answer it again. Someone asked, they put their name on our database and they're still waiting to be matched. Again, as I said earlier, it really is about you looking similar to someone who's looking for an egg donor often. And that's tricky because sometimes you may have a very unique look and may not look like people who are looking. But if you are in our database and you are listening to this webinar just out of curiosity about what I'm going to talk about, please reach out. I'd love to go over your profile with you and speak to you about the process and hopefully putting you forward to more intended parents that may fit what you're looking for. Someone asked about payment versus expenses. And so in Canada, it is illegal to be paid, or it is illegal to pay an egg donor. And so what that means in terms of the expenses that will be covered for you would be your mileage to and from the clinic. So if you live at, 100 kilometers away and we're paying you 59 cents, which is the CRA guideline for kilometers, then we would cover those costs for you. So we'd have you keep a diary of your expenses and the receipts associated with your expenses to cover your meals, to cover your time from work, your note taker at school. You're having to suspend your gym membership because the clinic will suggest not doing any weight bearing exercise. Meals for when you're out of town, parking, all of those expenses will add up quite quickly, and those will be reimbursed to you throughout the process of your egg donation. Another question I have is, what if my partner doesn't support my being an egg donor? It's a really personal question. You don't need your partner to support you. However, having been a donor and having watched, I think thousands of cycles at this point, having someone to support you is really important. Having someone there who will, attend your retrieval, who will understand what you're going through, who will be able to help you with the injections, really is important. And so we have an on-staff therapist. And so what we generally would suggest, or what I would suggest, is to talk to Jan about that, to potentially book a call with your partner, with Jan, to go over what this looks like for you and for your partner, and maybe what he or she's concerns are for you, and what the concern is, what the fear is, so that you can address that with them and really work toward creating a healthy dialogue around becoming a donor. The next question I have is, my partner and I can't have children. Am I still able to donate? Well, it will really depend what the nature of your infertility or your partner's infertility is. Oftentimes, many women who are drawn to egg donation are because of their husband having a male factor problem, or they themselves cannot carry because of an incompetent cervix or a uterine issue. And so, yes, absolutely. If that's possible, then then please, we would absolutely love for you to apply to our program to be a donor. That would be fantastic. Now, in terms of other questions, Jordan, do you have any other? I'm just looking here and I can't see them. Do you have any other questions? Oh, sorry, I do have one other. Someone is asking about complications and if you'll be able to have children in the future. I've had 2 children since my last donations. We've had many of our donors come back and tell us that they're pregnant and having their own family, and it's so lovely. And so the risks and the complications for egg donation really have become so low in the last couple of years. But we always say to people that, infertility or the inability to carry a pregnancy happens to many women. 1 in 6 Canadian women struggles with infertility. Often they do require an egg donor, but there are many, infertility shows up in many forms, and so there are many women who have been egg donors who go on and have their own children, but there are some that definitely struggle with infertility post egg donation, and it doesn't appear related. However, we do like to suggest, and we always suggest, to speak to the doctor who does your initial screening about any complications or reasons why you may not be able to have children post retrieval. And that is it, Jordan. Do you have any other questions from people?
Hi, Leah. Yeah, we have a few questions here. Some ladies are wanting to know if they're still able to get started with the process, even if they're currently self-isolating.
Absolutely. So we would love to help you, love to to support you through the initial process. So you can fill out your application. Skylar and Amber are still doing intakes, and they're working from home, obviously, as we all are right now. You can have a consultation with a nurse practitioner from home to discuss any complications, the process to go through your medical history. So absolutely, you can begin the process. And, we have a huge influx of intended parents right now of people who, who maybe are ready to begin this process, and being home and, sort of looking around the room for, for what really matters. We have found really so many intended parents reaching out to us saying, you know what, in the face of this pandemic, we really now more than ever understand how important a family is and would like to get started.
That's wonderful. They're also wondering where they can find the application to become an egg donor, which I believe is on our website. So we can include that in our email along with a video recording from today.
Absolutely. So you can go to egghelpers.com to fill out an application form, and Skylar or Amber will reach out to you today.
Okay, that's it for today.
Excellent. Thank you so much to everyone who joined us. I will be having more webinars upcoming. If you have any other topics that you would like to learn about regarding the egg donor process, we'd love to share. We're also going to be doing some interviews with egg donors, talking about their process and being a known donor versus an anonymous donor. And we really hope to provide you more and more information as the weeks carry on.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thanks so much. And we will hope to hear from you all soon.